Welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today I'll be doing my second in my director series, and this is all about Billy Wilder. And so, just kind of a reminder for this series, these are 5 movies I've picked from this director. They're not necessarily my top 5 favorite movies from them, more of just 5 movies in their filmography so that I could kind of expand and see more older movies. And then that way, too, it's another way of reviewing them because I'm only limited to one a week, right? So this is another way of adding even more movies to my watch list and whatnot to get through their filmography. And so, like I said, today is all about Billy Wilder. I'll talk a little bit about his behind the scenes, and then I'll get into the 5 movies ranked from 5 to 1. And so, with that, let's get started. So I'll share this. So this, of course, is Billy Wilder. And let me share a little bit about his backstory. And this is all from his Wikipedia page. So, Billy Wilder, born Samuel Wilder, was born June 22nd, 1906, and he died on March 27th, 2002, in Austria. His his career in Hollywood spanned 5 decades, and he's regarded as one of the most brilliant and versatile directors and filmmakers within classic Hollywood cinema. He received 7 Academy Awards with 21 nominations, a BAFTA Award, the Cannes Film Festival Palme d'Or, and also 2 Golden Globes. And so that's kind of a little bit about his behind the scenes and whatnot. So now I'll talk a little bit about his directorial style rather. So his style reflects his belief in the primacy of writing, and he avoided, especially in the second half of his career, the exuberant cinematography of Hitchcock and Wells because, in his opinion, shots that call attention to themselves would distract the audience from the story. So he was huge and really into storytelling and into stories as well. And you could really tell that with many of his films because, a lot of them are really character driven and writing based, right? There's not huge set pieces, not crazy camera angles, nothing like that. In fact, a lot of them are pretty simple, straightforward, 2 or 3 stages and whatnot. That's pretty much it. So you could definitely see that. And and he also helped a lot of older Hollywood actors, even older at that point, come out of retirement and kind of help them get jobs like Gloria Swanson, who's a silent film actress, Eric von Stroheim, and he brought them together for Sunset Boulevard. And then another thing he was really known for was his comedic timing. A lot of his films are, I would say, comedies. And so, yeah, he's one of those funny directors, funny characters, funny storytelling, all of that. And so, yeah, all around, he's got an interesting career, and I think it's worth looking into. And so here are the 5 movies that I watched from him. And so coming at number 5 is The Apartment. Let me pull up my thing here. There we go. So The Apartment from 1960. So my thoughts on the film overall. Oh, before that, I'm going to give a synopsis for each film as well. And this is from the film's letterbox. So Bud Baxter, played by Jack Lemmon, he's a minor clerk in a huge New York insurance company until he discovers a quick way to climb the corporate ladder. He lends out his apartment to executives as a place to take their mistresses. Although he often has to deal with the aftermath of their visits, one night he's left with a major problem to solve, and that's where Shirley MacLaine comes in. She's kind of the major problem. So that's kind of the plot of the film. And so my actual thoughts on it itself, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was pretty solid story. Um, I don't really like the subject matter too much of infidelity and whatnot. So I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of that aspect of it. And then also Jack Lemmon, he's kind of hit and miss for me. And if you've listened to my some like a hot review with Nathan Hale Classics, we both kind of talked about how he could be pretty much sometimes. In this one, he's not over the top with his comedy like he is in a lot of other movies. So it was interesting seeing him being a little bit more serious. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of him in this movie. Shirley MacLaine is great. I thought she was a great character or great actress rather in this movie. Um, and then Fred McMurray, I'm so used to him being in like the Disney movies. So whenever I see these Billy Wilder films he was in, he's kind of more either an evil character or kind of a scumbag. So it was interesting seeing him play a character like that in this. But overall, I thought it was a pretty decent film, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for it, but it's not my favorite. But that's all right. Film is subjective, right? We could all have our different opinions on it. But overall, 3.5 out of 5. I don't think that's a terrible score. All right. So then the next film is Double Indemnity, speaking of. And that film I gave a 4 out of 5. I've seen this one a couple times now. First time in college at my, I think it was one of my director's classes. I can't remember, but I think so because we were talking about Billy Wilder. But yeah, I like this one. Fred McMurray again. He's a more serious character in this movie. And before I get into that, let me tell you the plot synopsis. So, a rich woman and a rich woman played by Barbara Stanwyck, and a calculating insurance agent played by Fred McMurray, they plot to kill her unsuspecting husband after he signs a double indemnity policy. Against a backdrop of distinctly Californian settings, the partners in crime plan the perfect murder to collect insurance, which pays double if the death is accidental. So that's kind of the synopsis of the film from the Letterboxd page. But again, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was great. I really like the idea and the storyline. It's a little sinister. This is definitely a quintessential film noir. The only reason why I don't give it a 5 out of 5, I wish we saw a little bit more of Edward G. Robinson's character. I thought he was probably the best character in the whole movie. Because to me, the film felt a little too serious at times. There wasn't enough levity. And the scenes he was in, like the 3 or 4, really did bring that. I just wish we had a little bit more of that. Because, if you think about it, it's a little sinister, right? Like this Barbara Stanwyck character, she's plotting to kill her husband so she could get money, right? It's a very dark story, but I guess, it's film noir, right? Um, what else? I love Fred McMurray. He's great in this role. He's great as a scumbag, like I said. So overall, fine film. I had no real issues with it other than the lack of Edward G. Robinson. I think he was very underutilized. But yeah, other than that, it's a great film. I highly recommend it. Okay. So then the next film is Sunset Boulevard from 1950. So let me get into the synopsis. A hack screenwriter played by William Holden. He writes a screenplay for a famous, or rather former silent film star played by Gloria Swanson, who has faded into Hollywood obscurity. So this film, I also give a 4 out of 5. I like film noir as a genre. I think it's a great genre, and this to me is another great example of that. And I actually think it was pretty bold of Billy Wilder to make a movie like this because it kind of calls out Hollywood and how it treats its stars. Like the Norma Desmond character, right? She was getting all these calls all the time, and then Second Sound came in, they just stopped calling her, and she's kind of forgotten. And so it makes you wonder, like, how many times that happened, right? It's kind of tragic how they just toss you aside after they're kind of done with you, right? So I thought that was pretty bold of him to make a movie critiquing Hollywood when it's a Hollywood-based film, right? So I like that aspect of it. I also really liked Gloria Swanson as Norma Desmond. She was fantastic. And the real holdback for me, no pun intended, is William Holden. His acting is okay. I'm not the biggest fan of him. I think, and which is funny because he's in a lot of Billy Wilder films. So whenever he's in it, I'm like, he's all right. He's not the best actor. Um, but Gloria Swanson, man, she really knocked it out of the park. And I would say Eric von Stroheim too in his minor role. I thought he did great as well. And so, if you're a fan of old Hollywood, but also like silent film era Hollywood, you'll really get a kick out of this because there's a lot of silent film actors in it too. Like Buster Keaton makes a cameo, and a couple other people do, and Cecil B. DeMille, who is also making big Hollywood productions, he was also a silent film director. So, if you're a fan of silent films and classic Hollywood, I think you'll really like this one. But again, William Holden for me is the reason why I give it a 4 out of 5. He kind of holds it back for me, and he's the main character, so that part it was okay. But like everything else is fantastic, so that's why I put it at my number 3. All right, so drum roll. Here's my number 2. That is Some Like It Hot from 1959. So let me give the plot synopsis. 2 musicians, played by Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis, they witness a mob hit and they struggle to find a way out of the city before they're found by the gangsters. Their only opportunity is to join an all-girls band as they leave on a tour. To make their getaway, they must first disguise themselves as women, then keep their identities secret and deal with the problems this brings, such as an attractive bandmate played by Marilyn Monroe and a very determined suitor. So, yeah, I love this movie. I give it a 5 out of 5. I said a lot in my review of it with Nathan Hale, but just to add a little bit more here, I love Tony Curtis in this movie. He's fantastic, and I love his connection with Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon. He is a little over the top, but I think he kind of fits in this role because he's super ridiculous and how he's in drag, right? So I really like that in this movie. The famous line at the end, nobody's perfect. I love that scene. That scene's hilarious. What else? Marilyn Monroe, she's okay. I honestly think she's just a pretty face. I never thought she was a great actress. I believe this is my first film seeing her in. I'll need to check out her other filmography, but like I said in my review, I thought she was a little bit of a weak link, but not too much because her singing was pretty good. Actually, it was incredible, I would say. So I don't hate the movie. I actually really, really liked it. I love the comedy of it. It's hilarious. And then just a little side note, I love that they had to film it in black and white because if you see the behind the scenes pictures of it in color, it looks horrifying. The makeup that they had to wear for Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis. So I'm actually glad it was in black and white. It would have been terrifying. But yeah, I like the story. It was actually a really funny story. Real hilarious how they had to run away from the mob and all that. That was great. It was actually shot in San Diego, so you can actually go to the Coronado and see a lot of that exterior shots that they filmed for it. But yeah, overall, it was a great film. I really, really liked it. I could see why people hail it as one of, if not Billy Wilder's best films. And to me, there's actually another film that he did that I think is a little underrated, that I think is really his best film of all time. And so right now, my number 1 from him is Sabrina from 1954. So let me get into the plot synopsis. So Linus, played by Humphrey Bogart, and David Larrabee, played by William Holden, they're 2 sons of a very wealthy family. Linus is all work, busily running the family corporate empire. He has no time for a wife and family. And then David, who's the William Holden character, he's all play. Technically, he is employed by the business, but he never shows up for work, spends his time entertaining, and he's been married and divorced 3 times. Meanwhile, Sabrina Fairchild, played by, oh my goodness, what's her name? Audrey Hepburn, excuse me. She's young, shy, and awkward daughter of the household chauffeur, who goes away to Paris for 2 years to go to a cooking school, and she returns to capture David's attention while also falling in love with Linus. So, when we are first introduced to the Sabrina character, she's really in love with William Holden, as we kind of see here in this picture. And then she goes off to college, in Paris, and then when she comes back, she kind of realizes, oh, uh, maybe I don't like David. Maybe I like Linus more. And it's a really, really cute love story, really cute love triangle. And I think the highlight of the film for me is Humphrey Bogart and Audrey Hepburn's connection. I thought they were fantastic scenes, wonderful screenwriting, wonderful characters and whatnot. I loved it. Um, Humphrey Bogart, he's in my favorite movie of all time, Casablanca. So to me, this is another layer to his acting chops because we're kind of used to him as being the hard boiled, a film noir detective or whatever. But in this movie, he's just a businessman, kind of a little cynical, but he's also funny. He actually makes some really funny jokes in that. Um, One of my favorite scenes is with him and William Holden. They're making, I think it's like a plastic window or something, and he has William Holden jump on it and it breaks and he falls down, and then he's just making fun of him. I love that. I thought it was hilarious. Um, yeah, it's a great movie. I loved it. I think if you love romantic movies, if you love kind of love triangles like this, or just or if you just want to watch a movie that's really not crazy and over the top, right? This is the movie for you. Um, and another reason why I liked it, William Holden's actually not in it that much. I don't know. I just don't like him as an actor, but he's used sparingly. And to me, he's perfect for the role he is playing, which is the kind of sleazy, party going brother. I like that. I think he's perfect for that role. I don't know. I just really love Humphrey Bogart. And I normally don't like Audrey Hepburn, but this is probably the best movie I've seen her in. Um, I've tried a Roman Holiday. I've tried My Fair Lady. I didn't like either one of those movies, but this one she was really, really good in, and I could kind of see the appeal of her as an actress. So yeah, overall, love the movie. 5 out of 5. It's fantastic. All right. So those are the 5 Billy Wilder movies I saw. And again, I'm looking forward to checking out more from his filmography. But to me, these are 5 good movies to check out if you haven't seen any of or just one of these. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe to Really Old Movies down in the description below and set reminders for when new episodes come out. Then also follow me on Apple Podcasts and Spotify at Really Old Movies, where I release new podcast episodes at Saturdays, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on those channels. And yeah, this has been a great time. I'm excited to do the next series. And the next director is... Oh, who is the next director? Oh, I should have had that prepared. Let me backtrack. So if you haven't seen it yet, I also did one with Victor Fleming. Check that one out. And then... Frank Capra. Frank Capra is the next one. That will be released in June. So stay tuned for that. All right. Well, thank you all so much. This has been Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin. Take care, everyone.